I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Susan Ermisch. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I am good, Angel. How are you?
I am excellent. I was just saying I got back my voice after 2 days of not having it. Wow, that was scary. I learned something though.
What did you learn?
I learned that, added to rest is good, but I learned that the voice power thing, there's the ego power thing. Like if you shout, there's value.
Sure.
No. There's no value. You better work on having your soft tones be as effective because there's just no value, right?
Yeah.
It's
I
overrated.
think that's a good point. Right.
Yeah. Susan, tell me, what parts of the world are you in right now?
I am in Parker, Colorado, which is actually a suburb of Denver.
All right. And which of your talents is responsible for us meeting?
Well, I have recently started to do a podcast, and you found me that way. And really, my inspiration for starting a podcast is to highlight those skills of best bosses
Yeah.
and help inspire others to become best bosses, with the thought that if we learn how to treat one another better at work, since we spend so much time at work, we will take those skills outside of work and make things better outside of work.
I love it. So it makes sense in terms of what I'm saying, right? Because for some of us, we believe the best boss is the loudest person speaking, right?
Well, it could be, but you're right. I do not agree that the best boss is the loudest one speaking. Yep.
Yeah. Because I've worked in organizations where the boss is the guy that is shouting and he's the loudest, right? But I've seen servant leadership, and it's very, very effective how far a servant leader gets his employee to go, right? Have you seen that as well?
Yes, absolutely. And overall, while there's lots of different approaches, there's some commonalities I think that really inspire and drive people to work better together. And definitely a lot of that comes from a boss who is willing to lead and realize they're not going to know everything,
Yeah.
that they have to bring people around them and along with them and listen to them, because people come to the table with much more information or knowledge or skill than we have individually.
That's great. So you must be having fun with this podcast, right?
I am having fun, and I'm thinking about other ways to turn it around and look at ways we can honor best bosses in different folks' lives, like having them come together and do a podcast. So I'm just about to test that out in the next 2 weeks.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So who did you learn this skill from? This skill of not just podcasting, but definitely bringing areas of pain to the front of the room.
Yeah. I was surrounded by a lot of really talented and terrific people early on in my corporate career, and we not all of us realized how many great people we were surrounded by until we left that place and went out on our own and all went to different industries or different companies, and we come back to some of these basic skills we learned early on. So I've just been lucky and fortunate to have been surrounded by some really terrific leaders, and now I want to highlight that.
That's great. Wow, it's like you don't miss the water till the well runs dry, right?
That is right. Boy, is that right.
So why will you continue to repeat this skill of highlighting the good, even though there may be the pop-ups of the bad in the situation?
Yeah, no, and that is absolutely true as well, Angel. And that's really why I want to continue to highlight this. It's that there are good bosses out there, and everyone has the ability to be a great boss. We may not always be that great boss every single day. And if we have ways to remember what those items are that would inspire us to be better with one another, then that's what keeps me going and drive that kind of respect for one another and have some fun.
That's great. Now tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
Well, one thing that I've started to realize that I do is I'm curious. So I keep asking questions. And whether that's in my personal life or professional life, and to stay curious means that I am asking, well, I feel that I am asking questions and continuing to learn, and it's inspired from a positive viewpoint. And that's something that I've done and I'll continue to do.
Hmm. Sometimes in life we are trained that the person that is asking the questions is the person who is out of line, right? Or out of alignment. Yeah, but definitely I think it should be like that, right? Like the proper questions and the questions that how do I say the proper questions? Because sometimes they don't come out proper.
Well, that's
How would
right.
you
Yeah.
how would you say it? How would you say it?
Well, it's asking questions to learn. So it's definitely coming from a position of respect. That would probably speak to maybe your idea of proper.
Yeah.
You're asking questions from a position of respect and a position of wanting to learn more. And whether it's about another person, another culture, another company, someone's skill, it's asking those questions. And really, that's what you're doing. You're all about that.
Yeah, for sure. How does it make you feel?
Well, I get energized. I get energized because I keep learning from people and different kinds of companies and cultures and industries, and that gets me excited.
Hmm. Why would you suggest someone do what you've done by taking the good and highlighting it?
Well, I think that it drives understanding or at least appreciation for differences and realizing that there's something we can learn from each other all the time. And when you do that, then you're looking for the good. And I'm definitely a glass half full kind of girl. So I like that.
Amazing audience. We are live with Susan Ermisch. Do check her out. She is the podcast host of The Best Boss, and I can say this and I can say it loud. She is going to be amazing and continue to be amazing. Susan, let's switch gears for a moment now and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Susan, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Oh, that blue Caribbean warm water sounds wonderful. I think my one of my earliest childhood memories is a vacation we took. I think I was probably about 3 years old, and we went to a wild animal park in California. So it's been a long time ago, and it was one of those wild animal parks where you can drive around. And I was with my family.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, it was pretty exciting. I guess maybe it was so exciting because it was new and seeing animals that I'd never seen before. Yeah.
Is that why you think this memory is so clear?
I do. I think it's back to that idea of being exposed to something new and different and being able to ask the questions, what's the giraffe and what's the elephant, what's the hippo, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, you got me there. I think we could switch sides. It's definitely my input as well. You were in a place where questions, positive questions, if you would, respectful questions, it was definitely the culture of the organization, right? Like, yeah, they expect you to ask questions, and you are the questioner, if you would. I love that.
That's right.
Love that. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
Oh, one of them, I think I had quite a few of them, but I really love to dance. I still love to dance. And Shake Your Booty
Oh, there we go.
by Casey and the Sunshine Band was one of my favorite songs.
Well, usually I say, there's a way to connect, right? If it's not the name of the artist, there's the name of the song, right? But I could definitely see the sunshine, right, in your life through questions. Yeah, so I'll use that.
I like it. That's good. I like it.
Oh, well, Susan, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to go pretty quickly here. Susan, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children?
Yes.
How many?
2.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Probably not more than 3 hours, but I may be up to 3 hours. I am a little bit of a TV junkie.
All right. And what about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
No, that's also probably right about 8 hours because that is my job.
All right, Susan, after having 1,001 conversations in 3 months in 2016, I came up with a workbook, the name of it being Yours, which stands for your own unique real self. And as you dig deeper into the book, you go into your own unique real statement, your mission. If you had to share with us your own unique real statement, something that represents Susan Ermisch, what would you say that is?
Well, I'd like to learn more about your book, so I'm going to look for that. I think, based on what I understand, it would be to celebrate the little things for yourself as well as for others,
Yeah,
and drive those. Those can be little successes that can lead to bigger ones.
I love that. Ooh, love that. Well, Susan Ermisch, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Well, I think maybe to go back to my idea of dancing, I think everybody should dance a little every day.
Yeah, love it. Susan Ermisch, hey. Oh, again, this was a great pleasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thanks, Angel.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.